Hey, thanks for checking into this week's episode of the Life with Kenny podcast. Today, we are doing movie night. I'm here, as always, with my co-hosts, Kyle and Patrick.
What?
You get more and more timid every week, it sounds like. This week, we are going to be watching one of my favorite movies, Overlord from 2018. But first, we like to discuss what we've been watching and what trailers have caught our attention, or more specifically, my attention, because, boys, the pickings are slim this week. We've watched a couple straight-to-video movie trailers.
They were fucking terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll want your guys' opinions on those in a second, but maybe we'll talk real quick about what we've been watching. So, one of you guys want to go first and catch me up? I'm assuming Patrick hasn't watched anything.
Literally watched Dick All, mate, since last time.
Is that a new show, Dick All?
Oh, I wish it was. I'll probably give it a watch. You know what I'm like. Anything for a $5.
And Kyle, you were mentioning you had some stuff that you wanted to bring up here?
I haven't watched anything, but I've been listening to some podcasts because I went on a really long road trip.
Which podcast? You said you gave Billy Balls a listen, but it wasn't quite your thing.
Yeah, it was okay. The one I've been listening to, our cousin from BC told me about it. It's called the Brohio podcast. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
No? It's two bros from Ohio.
Oh, really? Is that where'd you get the name from?
I don't think they're brothers, and they're not really like the kind of bros that we would have here with like lifted trucks and Oakleys.
Okay.
They're like
frat dudes.
Maybe.
So like, yeah, today we're gonna coach you guys in the art of the pickup artist.
No,
we're gonna go to tequilas.
If I was to kind of explain,
I'll teach you. Lesson number 1: how to bring home a girl. Step 1: you put date rape in her drink. Step 2: you give her that drink. Step 3: you go to Bone Town. What up, Brohio?
That's what we call bros.
Such a fucking virgin.
That's a pretty fucking good pickup artist voice, though.
I'm waiting for the story.
All right, so the Brohio podcast.
Patrick's pretty fucking baked right now. I can tell it kicked in. That's why I wanted to bring it up.
I'm feeling lovely.
Yeah, I could
tell.
tell.
Right, so this is a picture of that they had posted of them. So that if I was to say, that was the first time I ever saw it too.
Okay, but what's the content like? Like, what made you listen to that and decide to come on the podcast and plug it?
In case anyone's wondering, yes, the photo does look very gay.
Okay, because
those guys are
you guys are making this so fucking bad. Because you know what? Their podcast is a lot like ours.
They're like, episode number 2, we're going to talk about docking. Do you guys know what docking is?
Who has the more listeners?
Them.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know.
Their podcast is like ours, but way better.
I don't know, man. I just found out that Patrick's sister gave one of our episodes a listen for the first time in a year.
You're welcome.
That we've been doing this.
I have to plug a good one.
Brohio podcast. I definitely suggest at least both of you go listen to it.
What do they talk about?
They cover a lot of conspiracy theories and murder mysteries and stuff like that.
They look like they do.
But it's like, but they're fucking funny, and I think in one episode they said that they were both ex-COs, which I don't know if that's even relevant, but yeah.
All right.
So that's what they used to do. I don't know if they still are or what, but they have lots of background in like knowing shit about murders and whatever.
I'm real sorry, but I do really feel for the listeners because when stuff like that happens, they can't see the eyes.
Should we just restart?
No, man, this is perfect. I've never been around Patrick this fucking high in my life. This is great. This is
making it hard for me.
Sorry,
that's what she said.
The story's going great so far.
Yeah. So yeah, Brohio podcast. You guys should check them out.
Yeah.
Cool. You should check out the official Goatsy podcast.
No, I'm not gonna do that.
It's
I'd rather not. I saw that once when I was 9. And I don't think I ever need to see it again.
They so on the Brohio podcast, they talked about one thing that I'm going to research and talk about one day. It's Athens, Ohio. It's supposed to be like the most haunted place on earth.
Isn't that in Greece?
It doesn't everybody claimed that they're the most haunted place on Earth, though?
There's some crazy fucking shit that they talked about.
Yeah, man, they found a ghost on Oak Island and they brought it to Athens, Ohio. And
If they found a ghost on Oak Island, it'd probably join the crew and carry on fucking digging.
episode number 3, how to date rape a ghost from Oak Island and bring it to
Man.
Ohio.
If Oak Island could become friends with a ghost, that ghost could just fucking zoom underground and find the treasure.
Yeah.
I think you have a higher desire for a ghost's ability than we do. I'm not sure that sentence made any sense. I'm pretty sure a lot of those words shouldn't have been in there.
I'm so high.
I'm all right.
All right, Kyle, is there anything else that you've been watching? That's
No.
one you want me to check out?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. There was one that we talked about on one of our previous episodes that I mentioned. Dr. Drew mentioned it on his podcast called Dr. Drew After Dark. It's actually a really freaking great podcast. He gives...
Who's Drew?
You know Dr. Drew?
No.
He, do you know the Teen Mom Show? He's the doctor on that show.
I know some of those shows, but I'm not sure they're on TV.
Right, he's one of the doctors from Celebrity Rehab and stuff. He's like a famous TV doctor guy, but he's actually like really funny. And he's so funny that like on his podcast he had people like writing in like, is it bad if I can prolapse my anus? And he made t-shirts like that are basically just like prolapsed anus is a lapse of judgment or something like that. And they like
That's
sell them.
jokes. That's a real gross thing to have on a t-shirt, but also something that you might be able to get away with, because not many people that haven't been on the internet and or had a prolapse at any point in their life probably won't know what a prolapse looks like.
Well, it's the same with naming your podcast the Official Goatsy Podcast.
No, it's for anyone that doesn't know, it's basically like haggis.
Okay, so the show I was talking about, it's called Lorena. If you remember, it's the story of a woman named Lorena Bobbitt who cut off her husband's dick. And it was in the 90s. And they kind of go into it about like what happened, what led up to it and stuff. And I had a tough time watching it. I stopped after 2 episodes because it's one of those things where you feel bad for the husband. He got his dick chopped off. And her initial statement was she was mad because he always finishes before she does and doesn't let her finish. And she freaked out and cut his dick off. Then she got a publicist, and then she changed her story to, he's been raping me in our marriage for years and beating me and stuff. And it basically came down to like, do you have any proof? And she didn't have any proof. And then people are like, well, if you don't agree with her or take her side on this, you're just like blaming the victim. But it's like, she's not the victim, she's the perpetrator. She cut off his dick. It's real fucking bad story.
How would you rather have your penis cut off if you were in a lose-lose situation? What would be the utensil you would want someone to use to...
Like rabbi's teeth or a scalpel? Is that what you're getting to?
Teeth? You wouldn't want teeth, would you? You'd want like a very sharp shiv.
That's how they do the bris. That's how they get rid of they circumcise kids back in the day.
What do they use?
Their teeth. Rabbis used to bite off the foreskin.
I don't know if I believe
Of course
that.
I'm not even joking.
Did.
No, not even kidding. You can Google that
find
shit.
proof. You Google it because I
I
can't
will.
type.
I'll Google it. I'll Google it in between, and then we'll come back when we come back.
If I find out that some fucking idiots were actually biting off knob skin,
Pixar, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Actually, no.
But yeah, Lorena.
No pictures. I don't want that
some
on my
fucking
phone.
guy from ages ago with his fucking... Oh, yeah, that's
His
a good
foreskin
pick.
and his teeth.
Yeah, get some more fucking front teeth involved. They're the best ones.
But yeah, Lorena, like it was generally a pretty good watch and interesting, but it's one of those things where I find myself like I caught myself kind of victim blaming, and I don't want to ever be in a position where I have to like defend my stance, so I just quit watching to be like, I don't know enough about it to be like, hey, she's lying or she's telling the truth and shit. So
Fair.
But yeah, if you're interested in that whole story, you can check it out and decide for yourself. I also checked out a show on Netflix called Jailbirds. I don't know if you guys checked that out. It's a reality show about people in prison. And one of the things is prisoners fishing and sending love notes and drugs through the toilets, because it's like a system that shares the same toilet system from the top to the bottom. So they take all their shirts, undershirts, tie them together, flush it down the toilet, tie drugs to it, pull it back up. and they have just like shit covered stuff that they bring with them.
What the fuck was that?
It's just the timer for supper.
Oh.
Jokes.
Yeah, it's fucking gross, and it's ridiculous, man. It's just like one of the dumbest shows. It's like one girl's like, I'm in here for 25 years for shooting a guy in the face, but like, I shouldn't be here, you know? Prison ain't all that bad, though. And it's just like, fuck, man, I just hate people like that. But yeah, that one's called Jailbirds. I also remembered I watched Incredibles 2.
Shit, isn't it? Fucking terrible.
I liked it.
Oh,
liked it
fuck
too.
off. No.
I was actually quite surprised because I didn't think I would like it, and I actually enjoyed it quite a bit.
It weren't as, it's a weird way to describe animation, but juicy.
Well, I don't know, man. The fucking Elastigirl was looking pretty thick.
Well, that's thick and juicy are different things, aren't they? I think.
Kyle, you know about that, hey?
What the fuck is wrong with you?
It's meme culture. You'll get it one day.
Don't. You don't need to get it. It's not a nice
Pixar
place to
didn't
be.
happen. I'll look for that when I look for it. No. I also rewatched Get Out. I don't know if you guys have seen that one.
Yeah.
Have you seen Get Out?
I don't know. Which one's that?
It's the one with the African American gentleman dating a white girl. He goes to visit her family for the weekend for the first time. Weird shit happens. There's some hypnotism and stuff.
Nope, don't think so.
It's pretty cool.
I think. I listened to another like couple episodes of a podcast. I think I sent it to you, Jared Reddick from Bowling for Soup.
Yeah, you did send that to me. I haven't
like
listened to it yet.
He does like movie reviews and stuff. And I think he did Get Out on there. I saw.
This guy is just recommending all the competition today.
Yeah, you fucking
Hey man, maybe they'll recommend us too.
I
don't
doubt
know.
it.
As soon as they're fucking, hey, this is the Life with Kenny podcast. And then it goes through to Kenny. He's like, hey, how's it going?
How's it going, eh?
And then he fucking transfers it to me. All right. Fucking
And
turn it
just
straight
straight as
off.
fuck. The last thing I watched was The Perfect Bid. I don't know if you guys saw this on Netflix at all. It's a documentary on this guy who like basically trained himself to guess all of the answers or all the prices for The Price is Right. He like
I heard about
memorized it
that.
and shit. And he helped like a bunch of people win. But when he actually got the chance to do it, he kind of screwed himself over. And they had like a loophole where you could only participate once. And then when Drew Carey took over as host, he helped some other guy win. And then there was a big like controversy where the hosts tried accusing people of like cheating by bringing in lists of prices, but this guy actually just had them all memorized because he's a genius. It's like it sounds boring as fuck, but it was pretty interesting. So if you're interested in that, you should give that a watch too.
So he just like hung out in the crowd and was like higher or lower?
No, he would wait because you know how everybody's like 500, 600 at the same time.
Yeah.
This guy would wait till everybody's done and he goes 14,335, and then somebody would say it. And then it would be right on the dollar, and people would lose their shit like every time. And Bob Barker started catching on and was like, "This guy knows every fucking price. People should pay attention to this
He's
guy."
just always in the crowd.
Isn't the price random?
No, it's
No,
all
it's actual
it's all
prices.
generated, and the thing is they reused prizes as well. So like they'd have the same refrigerator on 6 episodes. So he'll be like, "Oh, I saw this TV on a previous episode. It was $339." And he'd memorize that, so when he went to the show, it was the same one. Right away, he'd be
Fucking
339.
stupid. Why would you not randomize the prices?
Well,
Like to a limit. Excel is
I think the idea is to
Well,
guess
that's
the
it.
actual price.
Yeah, you're
and they
supposed to figure out
started
the real price.
It's funny because they started screwing with this guy by being like, the dude saw like, oh hey, this car cost $8,000 and like 779 or whatever, and he yelled that to the guy, and the guy guessed it, and it was wrong by like $2,000 because of the features that were with the car. It actually cost more money.
Oh.
But yeah, he ended up losing that one too, and everybody's like, this guy doesn't know his prices. But then one of the producers was like, did you hear that number that guy said? That's like the exact price of another model that we had on like 2 weeks ago. Like, this guy knows his shit. Like, we gotta
Fuck.
watch out. But there's like nothing in the rules about telling other people the prices. You just can't have a list of them or anything to reference. So it's almost like a memory game. If you can memorize it and like sync it together, you have like a good chance at it. So it's like a really interesting story of this guy, and he was like borderline stalking one of the showgirls from the show too. It's pretty funny.
Well, it's not much to win on the Price is Right, though, is it? It's like a holiday for 1.5 to Spain.
Well, no, there's like back then it was like, oh, $10,000. The one guy won like $10,000, 2 cars, a computer set, like back when computers first started coming out, like home computers and like a bunch of shit.
I'd take
Because this guy was giving him the numbers, he won all that shit and took it home. And the guy, everybody's like, aren't you mad the dude won 2 cars and he didn't give you one because you gave him all the answers? And the guy's like, that's just how the game's played. I don't care.
Weird.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So if that sounds like it's up your alley, give it a watch. It's only like an hour and 10 minutes. So it's like if you're ever just looking to kill some time, it's worth throwing on. But yeah, let's get into these trailers, boys. We watched a few trailers. 2 of them I'm almost positive are straight to video. And one of them I can't tell if I think looks good or not, but we'll get into that. So the first one we watched was called Rock, Paper, Scissors. To me, it looked like similar to the Behind the Mask, the Leslie Vernon story. It's one me and Shane have talked about showing Patrick before, but we haven't got to yet. It's one that I think you'd like.
Oh yeah, it's where it's through his eyes, right?
Yeah, he's a serial
I'll
killer.
give that a watch for sure.
So it's that one gave me kind of the vibe, but it definitely had like a cheap B movie straight to video vibe to it. The acting and stuff looked kind of bad, but
Yeah, it looked like shit.
it might be worth a watch for me when it comes on Netflix. Maybe not for you guys. Who knows?
Nah, definitely not.
You guys weren't interested in that story at all. Rehabilitated serial killer supposed to get tormented by a victim's sister.
Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like someone just had a dream about it and was like, yeah, I can make a movie.
Exactly.
There we go.
And that's how we get Amazon Prime.
The second trailer we watched was for a movie called Killers Anonymous, starring actually quite a few big people, like Gary Oldman and Jessica Alba even, which I haven't seen her in anything in a long time.
Looks like she's going to be the worst character in that movie.
Yeah, she hasn't been in much for a little bit, has she? Kind of went off the rails
She's not much of a murderer.
Did you ever see that one she was in called Eyes or something? It was fucking garbage. She went blind, got someone else's eyes, but then she could see dead people.
Oh right, it had fucking one of the Skywalkers in it. Hey.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah.
It did actually. Yeah, what's his face? I can't remember
think of his name, but yeah. Yeah, that one, I don't know. It looks like kind of like a B movie, like take on a Hotel Artemis, or like John Wick style. Like it seems like a lot of these like action hitman movies are kind of all coming out now, and they all just look like kind of shit.
Yeah,
Except John Wick, I want to go see that one. But
oh yeah, me too.
the last one that we watched actually looks pretty good to me. I think it has one of the Farmiga sisters. I can't think of her first name. I'm really bad for that.
Failure or Failure something.
Talia,
yes.
Talia Farmiga. Also, what's her name? Alexandra Daddario?
Yeah.
And Sebastian Stan, who plays Bucky from all the Marvel movies. Those 3 are in it. It looks like a pretty interesting haunted house witch movie. I don't know. It looked kind of interesting to me, but it looked a lot more on the art house side of things, which this is why I wanted to show it to you guys, because you guys have liked Hereditary and stuff like that lately, so I didn't know if you'd be interested in seeing that one. Any thoughts on that one?
It looks okay. I mean, they didn't show a whole lot in the movie or in the trailer, so kind of same style as the rest.
It'll probably be alright though. Bit fucking creepy, isn't it?
Yeah.
She's got a
probably
weird
creepy
face that
and some fucking
Farmiga, whatever her name is. Just like a scary setup.
She was in The Nun, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's just that face. It's not trustworthy.
She's got a scary setup face.
Yeah, she's got a scary setup. She's just ideal for horror movies because her eyes are always fucking 4 inches back in her noggin.
Did you guys see any trailers that you're excited for at all? Or anything that's coming out?
Nah, I don't
Nothing
think
off
so.
your head? I will say that it'll be out by the time this episode airs, but it's coming out this Thursday. The new trailer for the new Terminator movie comes out with starring Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I saw a video of Arnold Schwarzenegger at a school basketball game or something, right?
Yeah.
And some fucking dude sprints up and drop kicks him in the back.
Really?
But Arnold literally feels like he's just been bumped by someone. So this guy hits the floor like a sack of shit. And Arnold goes, like, he turns around, he leans forward and turns around ready to apologize to someone because he's just bumped into him. And he sees this kid on the floor go, fuck you, piece of shit. and he just gets dragged out. And poor chap stood there like, what the fuck was that all about?
You should send me that video.
It's a fucking nightmare.
I don't know about you guys. I'm excited for this new Terminator movie. Have you guys seen any of the Terminator movies?
I don't know what that is.
I think I've seen all of them.
This one is supposed to be a sequel to Terminator 2. So it's supposed to ignore the other movies after that one. And Terminator 2 is widely known as one of the best movies ever made, I would say.
Oh, that's the one with the guy that can turn into milk.
Yeah, liquid metal.
Not milk. That was the first liquid that crossed my mind. Sorry. I meant, yeah.
You're so fucked right now.
The liquid metal man.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah, that's the one. It looks good to me. I'm excited to see a trailer. So we'll see how that goes. But I just wanted to give listeners a heads up on that. If you're interested in that, the trailer should be out. Just search it up on YouTube. I'm sure it'll be good.
I'm a complete fucking liability, me. Oh, dear.
So now that we have Patrick extremely out of his mind, we're going to push that boundary and watch some
So this comes out
Overlord.
when? Thursday?
Yeah, the trailer does. Oh, this comes out on
podcast.
Friday.
Friday.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, we're going to go watch Overlord, and when we come back, Patrick can confirm or deny rabbis used to circumcise with their teeth, and we will also hear the guy's thoughts on the movie Overlord.
Fucking grossing me out, man. My foreskin's twinging. Doesn't like the sound of that.
Isn't that normal?
Fucking hungry rabbi running towards me with his gnashes out.
Should have got a better rabbi. All right, we'll be back. We are back from watching Overlord. I totally forgot to ask the pre-show questions, but first we're going to talk about the rumor about rabbis circumcising children with their teeth, Patrick. Confirmed or deny?
Confirmed, unfortunately. They actually fucking do it, but they suck out blood at the same time?
Yep.
What the who fucking thought of that shit?
Two birds, one stone.
Yeah, but this always goes back to that one fucking guy who just wanted to put that in his mouth.
Right. As recent as 2012, a child actually died from receiving herpes from a rabbi. The herpes gave him a bad infection, and he passed away.
Allegedly.
Oh.
So, yeah, you can look into that more if you're interested in that, but just make sure you have certain
We have like the opposite.
certain safe searches on, because
Just the opposite of a fact checker. You say a fact. Nah.
yeah, so we had just watched Overlord from 2018, starring Jovan Adepo and Wyatt Russell, Kurt Russell's son. Kurt Russell, the lead of one of my all-time favorite movies, The Thing, and now Wyatt Russell, also one of the leads of one of my all-time favorite movies. It was directed by Julius Avery, and it was written by Billy Ray, not Billy Ray Cyrus, sorry boys, who also wrote Hunger Games and Captain Phillips, if you guys have seen those ones.
Nope.
And the screenplay was written by Mark L. Smith, who did Martyrs and The Revenant, if you guys know those movies. Yeah, so the pre-show questions that I should ask before. Kyle, have you seen this movie before?
Nope.
Me and Patrick both had.
Yeah.
Before watching this movie, Kyle, did you think you were going to like it?
Well, you guys talk quite highly about it, so yeah.
Okay. Okay, so now let's move on to the post-show questions. Kyle, do you regret watching this movie?
Nope.
And what would you rate it 1 to 5?
Probably a 4.
A 4?
Mm-hmm.
I want to yell at you for that, but that's still a pretty high rating. Well, what didn't you like about this movie?
There wasn't much that I didn't like about it. It's just I don't buy movies, and 4.5 is fine.
Okay, if we scrap that from the rating system, if it's something
no, right, no. 4.5 is if you were masturbating and that DVD cover was looking at you, you wouldn't then put the DVD cover down because you were ashamed of the people watching you do
like
what
Jesus?
you were doing. Yeah.
Like a picture of Jesus? Is this
I
movie
don't
Jesus?
think that's going to work for me either, Patrick. It's still a 4.
We'll find a relatable scale. one
Okay,
day.
so 4 out of 5, and there's nothing that you really complain about. That's what I'm curious about here.
Some of the characters I feel like could have been casted differently. There was some that were good and some that I just...
Do you have examples? Like which people?
Well, the guy who you have a boner for, Kurt
Wyatt Russell?
Wyatt
You didn't
Russell.
like him?
No.
Really?
I feel like his character could have been anyone else. And honestly, I feel like what's that guy's name like who was chewing the gum and stuff?
The Italian looking guy. Let me.
I feel like
here.
he could have played that guy's character.
Yeah, he
Like,
didn't.
you know?
He didn't play a very good, like, strong
Yeah.
character. But in Black Mirror, he was fucking brilliant.
Well, so the idea I think is Ford is just like kind of an outsider that was just kind of thrown into it, and he had to just kind of step up. And that's how the military worked a lot of the times back then. Is like people who probably weren't used to being in those positions or weren't seen in those positions were just thrown into it because that's all they had, right? That's all they had access to. So for me, that actually kind of, because that's the thing is you have to realize all these people are just normal people.
How
when they go
long
to
was this
war.
movie?
It was just shy of 2 hours.
Okay. So it's pretty long already, but it would have been nice to hear like a little more backstory on the like characters, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
I don't think, like, it kept the same pace as that intro scene.
Yeah.
Because I get it's probably impossible to do that with a movie. And it may have been because when that first scene of the movie came along, I was kind of peaking. So, fuck me, man. That
Okay, so
shit was
Patrick,
nuts.
for you, do you regret watching this movie?
No.
What would you rate this one out of 5?
Like a 3.5.
Really?
Yeah.
I want to yell at you, but that's still a pretty okay rating.
It's it has its flaws like any other movie.
Well,
But-
it barely showed any of the, like, virus or whatever they'd created. Barely, maybe like 15
right. So
minutes
if
on
you're
screen.
listening to this, go watch the movie because we're gonna dive into some spoiler-heavy stuff pretty quick here.
Yeah,
Okay,
should probably
let's-
learn to start saying that.
Let's go ahead with your thing there. Sorry, I interrupted you with the
what-
virus.
Yeah, so it barely showed any of that shit. And that was like the main talking point of the story.
Right. So for me, that stuff, I felt like when I watched it the first time, especially, I went and saw it in theaters on Remembrance Day, like 2 days after it came out. And I'd just been watching Band of Brothers for like 10 hours the day before. Such a good show. But I was already like in the mindset of like what it's like to be in World War II already. And then going into this, it basically was the same thing. It's just a ragtag group of people going into a place that they know nothing about, people they know nothing about, going against fucking viruses and all that stuff that they know nothing about,
you know
right?
what, you know what I reckon? I reckon you could have not had the zombie aspect to this movie.
It's
and
not
it
even
still
really
would
a
have been
zombie aspect,
fantastic.
though. It's
Well, this experiment aspect, you could have had the whole
Yeah.
movie without that,
I-
and I'd have probably given it the same rating.
I kind of feel actually I probably would have given it a higher rating if it would have just been a war
Yeah,
movie.
if it focused on that just like brutal
Because
reality.
when it first started up, the first 10-15 minutes of the movie was more terrifying than
Yeah,
watching these fucking creatures they created.
I guess it's
Really?
it's because that
Yeah.
first scene is probably the most relatable.
I was sitting on the edge of my seat, like, and exactly like those guys were all just told they're going to war, thrown like in some training and given a gun and thrown on a plane. I felt like I could have been sitting there right beside them.
right.
Yeah, man. It's like when everyone's just fucking dying. There's
Yeah.
no
See,
control over it
this
whatsoever.
is really interesting to me because this movie in particular hit me on every level where the entire time I watched this movie, I was relating to everything. I was understanding everything and everything kind of clicked with me where I felt like you guys had that experience with Hereditary. So it's like, it's strange how it kind of swapped for us because this movie, like everything they did, I kind of understood and I could relate to like all of the characters' reasonings for the things that they did.
Well, I
And like the shit that they
can
came up
too.
against and stuff. Like,
I get it. It's just I feel like we're both saying the same thing where it's it just could have continued as a war movie that one guy made it out,
Yeah.
found his other brothers, and they went and
right,
you know,
but I think with that it would have just been another war movie, right?
okay, so what I'm hoping will happen here is at the end of the movie they're told, spoiler alert, that they're going basically go take down Hitler as their next mission. I fucking hope that they make a sequel and show that. and those are the guys that fucking make it there.
I
and
think everyone should just fuck it off and do the Wolfenstein games as movies, because they would be insane.
Yeah.
Or like a TV show, a fucking Netflix original. Do it. It's fucking easy.
Well, they're doing a lot of like video game ones lately.
They are. I don't know any of them.
I feel like
agree.
this would have been a good jumping off point for things like that, because honestly, if you think about it, like Dog Soldiers is a war movie that's based around like supernatural shit, and this is pretty much the only other one I can think of besides like Dead Snow and like weird stuff like that. But this one,
that?
no, I haven't.
It's actually pretty good.
The reason this movie like stands up for me is because it does pitch itself as a war movie, and it's almost like these guys are going to war, and the shit that's thrown at us is the same shit that's thrown at them, so it's like a surprise for them too, and they're just like in it, you know, and they just have to deal with it. And I think that's like how people watching this movie are as well. They just get this like mutation shit thrown at them, this super soldier serum thrown at them, and you have to process it to either be like, okay, well, that's fucking dumb, or be like, okay, well, this is an interesting twist, you know, and a different take on this, which is what I like about it.
Yeah, I get that. It has something different from every other movie.
Yeah.
I think Saving Private Ryan set a really fucking high bar for that sort of shit.
Well, there's all kinds, like Pearl Harbor and stuff too, are all really good ones, but yeah, we should definitely watch maybe Dog Soldiers next week, because Kyle actually found it at a garage sale for Patrick somewhat recently, which was like,
did I take that home? I don't think I did.
no, it's still here.
Oh, okay, safe. Yeah.
Because that was a good surprise for you that day.
Yeah, man, I was buzzing.
So we can watch
since
Dog
we're on
Soldiers.
war movies, it'd probably
It'd be an
kind of
interesting
fit here.
watch.
Yeah, man.
What were things that you guys really liked about this movie, and what were some things that you disliked?
The very first sequence is fucking insane.
It gets your heart going, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, mine was already giving it a little bit.
That's the marijuana.
And I fucking had to keep telling myself to stop thinking about being in that situation, because every time I did, I was like, "Oh, fucking nah, I'm not on board with this." I was like freaking out a little bit.
No, like that same scene though, I was literally sitting on the edge of my seat, and I felt like I was fucking in there with them, and my legs were like shaking, and I was like getting into it, and then when the turbulence came, I actually scared the shit out of myself because I was like, "Fuck."
Okay, so for me, like going point to point, like as soon as this movie starts slowing down, it throws something at you where you're kind of like, these Nazis are fucked up. Like, they blow up the plane, the guys have to bail out, the dude survives, and he finds the sergeant or whatever. Then he watches the fucking Germans just blow that dude to shit. Then they find a French girl who is a big part of the story. She takes them to the village. And then you proceed to basically, like, see her get raped by a fucking SS officer.
Yeah.
And it's insinuated that it's happened multiple times.
Yeah.
So, like, you throw those aspects into this movie as well, and then you throw the weird regenerative serum and the weird tests and experiments that they're doing on people. Like, this movie hits everything on my horror list.
I gotta say, like the scenes where they had the experiments and stuff, all the props they used were fucking incredible.
Yeah, they were.
And
all of it was the practical effects
and like time period, like looking and everything. Like, well, actually, everything in the movie, they did a great job of making it look like it was from that time period.
See, what I really liked about this movie was, like, it felt like multiple different movies to me. Like the part where the main character, Boyce, I think was his name, he's basically gets in the back of a German truck trying to escape, and it, like, takes him right into the epicenter of the fucking bad guys.
Yeah, so once it got to that point, that was when he kind of stopped making relatable decisions, I think.
You think so?
He started getting
Yeah.
surprisingly ballsy just out of nowhere.
Well, for me, I related to that because as soon as he got in there, it felt like a horror video game to me, where it was like, you either have to fucking do it or you're dead.
I
Like,
gotta,
no matter
I gotta
what.
say though, yeah, I think at that point he was probably thinking like, I just gotta push or I'm gonna die anyways.
I also
But
think there's a part too where your mind snaps in a situation like that.
that was one part of the movie that that bothered me because he got lucky getting in the back of that vehicle and going in
Unlucky,
there.
I would argue.
Well, he got to where he wanted to go in a sense, or his commander wanted him
in
to
the
go.
end,
But when that like little bit of that scene was going on, I cannot believe no one fucking saw him.
yeah.
Everyone, anytime he moved, the people's heads were facing away from him. There's no fucking way that would have actually happened.
Yeah, man.
That is the
in a bunker
luckiest
of that level
person,
of security as well. Fucking
luckiest
no
person in the
chance.
fucking
Well,
world.
a big thing too is they were saying that there was only 40 people, which I took to say like as like awake soldiers.
I don't know.
That's
man.
not including the ones that are like in the chambers and the serum and
I
shit.
don't know. They probably didn't call them soldiers. It's like wet boys, maybe.
But yeah, so 40 people, and
Okay,
most
but
of them are
in that one scene. There was 2, 3.
Well, there was a guy in a truck.
There was
the
5
two dudes
soldiers
walking
that
away.
had their heads away from him as he got into the building.
Right.
Like that is fucking pure luck. And
Well, yeah, I don't know.
3 different
Sometimes you have to
occurrences.
suspend disbelief like that to get to point A to point
But
B.
that was
right?
one of the things that bothered me because it was just like he was hiding in the back. He jumps out. The 2 guys are facing away from him. I was like, oh, like that's lucky. But I'm feeling like I'm there with him, right? And then he crawls underneath, and I'm like, I would have done that too. And then he fucking comes out the other side, and I was like, he didn't even look around to see where anyone fucking was.
No, he did.
He didn't.
He did because he
crawled
even
right
there was
out.
a guy that came out and he even hid in and he tucked in so the
That
guy
was-
would walk by him.
No,
And
that was
then
after. That was after. He literally he went under one side of the vehicle, out the other. He didn't even know if the guy was out of the fucking truck yet, and he came up right beside his door. And then he fucking all of a sudden the guy when he runs across to fucking
Get
hide
into the door.
to get into where the door is, the truck driver has his head behind him looking out the back window to reverse, which there's no fucking back window. He had to use his mirrors. So why was he looking back to reverse? That's where I was like, this is fucking, it just bothered me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
That
didn't
no one
notice
saw.
anybody looking back or anything because those vehicles are all right-hand drive, right?
But he would, well, it showed him. He had his hand
Because I
on
just saw the left side.
Well, we'll have to look, but I'm pretty sure I saw him looking
No,
backwards.
I'll touch
And then-
on that.
but
'Cause
that was
I
just
was
like the one
thinking-
thing that bothered
Because
me.
I was following that as well, and like just the way he crawled under the truck, I was like, like if you're like hiding from people, you wouldn't take that long to get under the truck once you jump out. But then I was also kind of like, okay, well, he's trying to like think things through. He's trying to
Yeah.
process the situation he's in and stuff, and like.
Like they did a good job of making him like scared and just running to the closest place, you know what I mean, which most people would probably do to hide in that situation. But yeah, there was just little things that I was like, that's way too lucky. Like there's no way that he didn't have to shoot or kill one person for that long in the movie because he almost got caught was crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like they were fucking
But-
mental bastards.
but in the
way they
movie-
wouldn't have like a fucking load of people
Yeah.
knocking about in there.
But in the movie, that bit of it that pissed me off is very minimal to how great the movie actually was.
Yeah. So after that scene, he's going in, and like that part felt like a horror movie to me, where he like stumbles into the area with the cocoons of
Yeah.
people, and he like doesn't know how to process it, and he hears people like yelling for help in French, and he looks over, and there's a woman's head, just her head, propped up on a table, and she's speaking and like looking at him and stuff.
Yeah, that shit was fucked. Man.
Like just shit like that makes this movie a whole new level to me, because you don't see stuff like that in movies anymore.
No.
And that's why I feel like this movie connects with me on a new level, because like when you go to look for new movies, all you see is like shitty paranormal movies, or like
Yeah.
you know, nothing goes really practical or gory anymore. It all like holds back and just has you like visualize everything. Where this
But-
movie, I feel like, was just grotesque
With-
in every way.
With this, they were able to do all of that weird shit because they had an excuse that they were doing like fucking crazy tests on people. You know what I mean? Whereas if you just saw that in a horror movie, you'd be like, "What the fuck?"
So at what point
Like
did you
how?
realize? Well, at what point did you realize this was turning into more than just like the tests and stuff that we talked about? Like,
Well,
was
when
it
we
when you
saw
saw
the-
the ants,
yeah, the
or
ant.
was it once
Yeah.
the guy took the serum?
No, when I saw the ant, I knew that because mostly I probably wouldn't have caught on to it if we didn't talk about like the testing and stuff the last podcast.
That was probably the most predictable part of the movie, I think.
Well, they built it up quite a bit with her like wheezing and
Yeah.
shit.
But before
It still felt
Yeah.
a bit of a cheap jump scare.
Yeah,
before I
little bit.
saw her, I was thinking that she kept saying like her aunt, but then I was thinking, I bet you it's not going to be her aunt. It's going to be like her uncle, and he's going to be like, yeah, he's probably sick, but he's going to be like some crazy fucking Nazi, is what I was thinking. And then I thought shit was going to go down that way. But yeah, then they showed her, and I was like, okay. And I was like, okay, she's a fucking test dummy. But
so you guys just didn't like a lot of the logical things then, like the reasoning and stuff
Yeah.
of the characters. You didn't feel it was believable.
I feel like the first part of the movie was incredible, but it had already painted him as this very, very lucky individual to have
Yeah,
even made
exactly.
it this far. I just felt like they had a certain limit to use, and then it was like, all right, fucking come on now.
Right.
This is insane.
Yeah. So what did you guys like about the movie then?
Everything was incredibly colorful, although it was quite a dark movie.
yeah, all the scenes and everything
Yeah.
were all super well shot too.
Like the diving out of the plane scene, fucking hell.
Yeah,
just
all of the-
explosions, bullets everywhere.
Man, when
Fucking
he
crazy.
fucking when he was falling, I was like that's such a weird camera angle. It was like they like fucking literally just took,
Strapped a GoPro on someone and threw him out the plane.
but it was like the GoPro was just on a string or on a spring or something because it was fucking moving all over the place.
Yeah,
But it
man.
was always facing him, and I was like, that was a fucking cool scene.
Yeah.
And then he hits the water, and I was like, Jesus, like everything was just. It like you said, it was dark because it was dark out, but everything, it was so colorful because you could see all the explosions in the background were making the actual light for the whole scene. Like,
that plane scene is the scene that gave me that same feeling I had when I watched The Descent. Just the anxiety and like
Yeah.
tension that you feel watching that.
man,
is-
when he was
it's
trying
unparalleled.
not to go out the ass end of that plane, I was just like freaking out.
And dudes are just feeding out the fire. Like,
Yeah.
yeah man.
Jesus.
It's crazy. There's some trivia on that too. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. But yeah, for me, I don't know. Like I mentioned earlier, it feels like it's everything I want in a horror movie. It's got like the tension from wartime. It's got like the mutation scientific experiments. It's even got the monster chase scene, which I thought was cool, where the girl like just gets away and busts out the flamethrower. And it's got humor. That's another thing that I don't think this movie has enough. Like,
Yeah, a little
like
bit.
when they send the fucking German, they like capture the German guy on the bridge on his motorbike, and then they load up the cart with explosives and they just tape him and send him back in at the Germans. Like that part killed me the first time I watched this movie.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Like like this movie has no issue of like getting you to a point where you're rooting for the good guys, which I really like.
It did have that very cliche, high-ranking Nazi search around the house scene that every wartime film around this period
Yeah.
actually has.
Right.
Every single one of them.
And that gives me anxiety too.
Yeah,
like just
for some
thinking
reason
about that.
It doesn't matter what movie it is, but those scenes are always shot very well.
Yeah.
That was another thing that kind of bothered me is how they could hear the ball drop in the attic when they were in the house. But then they could
Yeah, they
you
couldn't
couldn't
hear
hear
the bullets.
gunshots and fucking a whole fight scene and stuff happen from just outside of a like fucking one pane glass window.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
The
they seem
things
to
like
arrive
that.
very slowly, depending on what part of the movie we were at.
Yeah. I'm not going to fight with that logic stuff. Like,
Yeah.
there's definitely like logic holes in this movie, but it's a movie about fucking Americans going to fight Nazi like creatures, basically.
I just kind of wish that it would have been like they would have used for like scenes like that, instead of using guns, they would have used, say, knives or something to keep it more quiet.
Well,
It would have made more sense.
I mean, the thing is if you put yourself in their shoes in those scenes too, like you're not going to be like, oh shit, we should be quiet. This guy's reanimating and crushing people's skulls and throwing them into things.
Yeah,
You're just going to bust out your machine gun and go, fuck, and like just pray that you kill them, right? Like,
Well, I get that, but then
Like-
they should have been downstairs right away or looking out the window
well,
to
that's
see
the
if
thing
fucking anyone
is
heard them.
he did mention that too. He was like, they've definitely fucking heard us now. Let's go. Like, he mentioned it like 3 times, but the thing is scenarios kept coming that prevented them from going. So it's like, I can't say why the Nazis didn't show up. Maybe all of them retreated to the compound for some reason. I don't know, because we didn't see what was happening outside of the building. But yeah, I'm surprised that the one nosy neighbor didn't like rat them out, though. At least that nosy neighbor would have heard something. And
Fucking, I hate that those sorts
Well,
of
didn't
people
she-
still
is she-
exist as well.
yeah,
Is that nosy neighbor the one that got shot?
No, different people.
Different people?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. I don't think they'd shoot a snitch, that's for sure. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. What did you guys think about like the creature effects and the facial deformations and
I thought
stuff
they
like
were
that?
just a little bit gooey.
They're a little bit slimy, right?
There was
They
something
were.
off.
Yeah, I don't know. It looked just a bit,
When they showed
you know?
when they showed the guy's mouth, the first time they showed it open and whatever, it almost looked like reflective or something. Like they had put a piece of green green screen in his fucking mouth or taped it on there, and then were using like something like just putting it on there with the computer, and you could kind of see like chunks that it just didn't look quite right if it was all prosthetics, you know?
Yeah, that part wasn't prosthetics. You're not
Yeah.
going to be able to dig into somebody's face and take out half their face for the movie and then
Well,
put
no,
it back
I don't know.
together.
It depends what movie you're making, doesn't it?
I'm not saying
Well,
that,
I don't think
but
you'd be able to indent it enough where that guy's face was that fucked up. But
Well, I mean, they do a lot of that stuff in The Walking Dead, though.
yeah, I don't know, man.
it just looked a little off when I first saw it. It was just that one scene. It was almost like, and it could have just been the angle I was sitting at with the light shining through the window, but it almost looked like reflective or something on there. And I had to take a couple looks at it. I was like, there's something fucking off there, but
That's weird. Yeah, I didn't notice that. I know it was going all the way through his face. There was no
Yeah.
background to it. That might have been just like stuff flickering in the background, maybe.
yeah, I don't know. It was weird to me, but
Yeah, it's strange, like, things that bother certain people, because, like, that stuff didn't really click for me at all.
First time
Like,
I watched it, it didn't bother me.
like, watching all the special effects, even just, like, the random times where the soldiers are getting shot when they're coming out of the gate, there's, like, they even went to the point of, like, making sure that those people's faces were fucked up and shit, too, from the explosion. Like, the one guy that survived, his face was all burnt up and his eye was white, and, like, I feel like they did a really good job paying attention to that stuff personally.
yeah.
So like I'm not going to disagree with you that you think something was off, but for me, I honestly felt this was some of the best special effects I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, for the most part,
I
it
think
was definitely.
I think I was trying to look for it though
Yeah.
when I was watching this, which is weird for.
Well,
it
it's
being
because
my
I
first
built
time,
it up as one of my favorite movies,
Yeah,
and you're
maybe.
probably trying to
I would like
knock
to-
me down a peg here.
I would like to watch this again in like a couple years
Yeah.
and see if like the story and stuff holds up.
Yeah,
because
for me, it all held up a lot. Like, I felt a lot of the anxiety and stuff I felt the first time, which is rare.
I don't know if I didn't feel much after the first time, like when they were hiding in the attic. That was the last time like I kind of like felt scared.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that was the That was probably the scene with the most tension for me.
I like for me it was like once the girl got away, I started to well no, because when he was setting the charges and the guy showed up, I was like, oh fuck. Like the first time I watched it, I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah, but I knew that you could tell that was gonna happen though.
Yeah, you knew it was coming, but it's still like for me it was like fuck. Like why does this have to happen in every movie like this where like they're just so close to accomplishing it and it's just like the most inopportune thing has to happen, you know? Like, I get, like, your point of view with, like, him sneaking around earlier from the truck and not getting caught. Like, if he got caught there, the movie would be over. But, like, in situations like that, it's like, I think it would have been better if the guy actually had the charges set and the place started blowing up while they were all in there and fighting. And, like, the guy had to try and make his escape, you know? But... yeah, I don't know. For me, this movie's still, like, even after my second watch, I wasn't sure if it would still be in my top 5, but I think it is, to be honest. Like, it's just got everything for me.
Yeah, I feel like it got slightly worse for me on my second watch.
Yeah, it went from, like, a 4 to a 3.5 or whatever.
Yeah, you know, like, the more I talk about it, I feel like I want to change my rating to a little lower, but... it's just now I'm just thinking of all the little things. But the first, like... before they went into the building,
absolutely livid. Look at him.
Before they went into the building, like the main character, before he went into the building, that's the whole movie was great. And as soon as he went in there or got in the back of that truck, that's when it started going downhill for me.
Yeah, I wonder.
Nothing pissed me off until then.
I wonder if it's like, because I've read reviews and stuff before of people experiencing it where they were like preparing themselves for like a dark war movie, and then that kind of like turn of it being about like the scientific things just kind of put people off.
I don't know. I think it was just yeah.
Because it felt out of place to a lot of people.
If he would have jumped out of the truck, crawled underneath, went up beside there. And then the dude from the truck saw him, and he had to, like, think quick and probably pull out his knife instead of shooting because he was in the fucking building and killed that guy. And that was the first time that he had to kill someone. It would make so much sense that his character changed then.
For me, it makes more sense that his first time he has to kill somebody happens to be one of his good friends.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
That scene to me was more powerful because they were literally just talking about how the dude couldn't even kill a mouse. And then next thing you know, the dude's having to bash this guy's head in with the fucking thing because he's just so fucking scared and just like angry that he just doesn't know what else to do except just to keep swinging.
So I like the way they introduced the aspect of the virus, right?
The serum?
Yeah. But I didn't feel anywhere near as
What do you guys think
scared.
the serum was? Because you keep saying virus. For me, like, do you know what a Lazarus pit is?
No.
So I think the idea is like the Lazarus pit. What's the other? There's like a term for it. Fountain of youth.
Yeah.
So I think the idea is it's essentially the fountain of youth that they're trying to figure out how to heal and prevent aging and stuff like that as well. That's the idea of the 1,000-year Reich, 1,000-year soldier. That's what they're trying to do, and it makes sense that they're testing it out on the dead and like the townsfolk and stuff to me. So like it's essentially like a Lazarus pit that they'd found. And it's for me, because I like read more into this stuff, it makes me more invested because, as I'd mentioned previously, the Nazis were sent out to look for these weird places and weird artifacts, like the Spear of Destiny and the fucking chalice that we talked about and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So it would make sense that they just found this fucking fountain of youth underneath this Paris town or French town, and were like cultivating it in secret. You know?
But what I was saying was that I didn't feel anywhere near as scared when the other infected people or afflicted people were introduced compared to when they introduced that first guy, because it was fucking scary as shit.
Really?
Yeah, bones all over the place.
Yeah,
he wasn't this weird creature.
Like he broke his own neck. Like
I think they were
all different like versions of the serum. I think that's the idea of it, is they're all just different test subjects. So the one guy was more like bald and like slimy.
Yeah,
right?
I guess the rest of them were actually pretty normal.
The soldier dude was like pretty normal looking, but he had the broken things and like the weird veins and stuff. And I think the serum that the main bad guy took, it looked like he took like 3 or 4 serums
of the same stuff as
he could have took the same like concoction as the guy in the attic, but he could have took one more in there that started giving him boils
he wasn't
and shit
dead.
too.
That was what the doctor said. He said, we've never tried this on living.
Right.
And I think that's why he was the way he was and didn't just go crazy
to it, right?
Because he knew what he was taking. It wasn't like the guy that they injected and he was like, why the fuck am I like this, and started freaking out.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just it's an interesting movie to me, and I liked pretty much every story point, even the point where it's like just the 2 homies have to like fend off all the Nazis coming out of the gate and stuff. To me, like that whole part was cool too.
I like the part where he's like shoot faster, and he's like, it's a 2-man gun, you asshole.
Yeah, like I feel like a lot of the characters, except for the camera guy, I didn't like very much. I think they only had him to kill him off and show.
Yeah.
But the other characters, I feel like, had a lot of personality and stuff, and it made them kind of likable and relatable. Even
I thought the main character probably had the least amount of personality.
Yeah, well, I think that was kind of like their attempt at like making a timid hero a thing. You know, like he seemed like a timid wimp.
Yeah.
And he kind of was forced to be a hero, and I think that's what a lot of people had to do when they were thrown in the war.
The sergeant there, I feel like he could have done some different things too. Like instead of the main character having to kill his best friend by like bashing his fucking head to nothing, I feel like the sergeant dude could have just stepped up and done something there. You know what I mean?
Right. But okay, so
he just stood there.
Put ourselves in this situation. It's the 3 of us there. It's like, you're not going to know how, we've talked about this, you're not going to know how you react in a situation like that until you're reacting.
If someone came back to life and started doing shit like that and attacking, the first thing anyone that's watched any zombie movie ever is going to think is fucking destroy the brain.
But the thing is, this is before zombie movies. This is before all of that shit.
I know, but you just said us 3. We're not back then.
Okay, but I'm saying, like,
if we were,
like the friendship that we have and stuff, and like the bond that we have. Like, imagine if all 3 of us got thrown into a fucking shit fest like this.
I'd have fed you both to him and chipped, boys.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is we don't know how he would react. Like for me, I would probably react very similarly, where it's like I just have to bash this dude's head in until he's dead. That's just it. Like you just
just fucking and you don't stop. To town.
Yeah,
you don't stop.
I agree with that. I'm just saying they gave certain characters the wrong situations. I think. I think that the camera guy and the fucking cool guy, I guess he would be considered, the dude chewing the gum. I think their character, like their actors, should have switched roles. Like I think I think the camera guy was supposed to be kind of like an annoying person, which that dude plays very well, like the gum chewing guy.
I thought that dude was actually like kind of charming. He was like me. He was just like a gruff asshole, sarcastic.
I just feel like they both could have played each other's roles better.
See, I feel like the easiest way to explain this movie to people who haven't seen it would be, it's a war movie, but from the perspective of a sidekick rather than the hero. Because I feel like
I guess the hero is Matey's character, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like Ford is supposed to be the hero in a sense because he had to step up and do everything, and he was supposed to be the leader in charge. And I feel like Boyce was kind of the recon sidekick, right?
Yeah, he was fucked from the start though because his name was Ford.
But yeah, no, it's just interesting to see it from that perspective too. So maybe if you do give it a watch in a couple years, maybe just think about that as well. Because I feel like with Big Trouble in Little China too, that's another movie people can't put their finger on why they don't like it, and it's just because the main character of the movie is actually like a sidekick. It's weird.
Yeah, no, like I agree.
It's a weird dynamic, and it's not something you usually see. It's not like you're watching Batman and Robin, and it's from Robin's perspective, right? Like,
yeah, I get that.
But yeah. Anyways, for me, it's a solid 5 Patrick, it's a 3.5. Kyle said before he's probably going to drop it down to a 3.5, I'm guessing.
Yeah. I'll give the first half an hour of the movie a 4.5, and I'll give the rest of the movie a 3.5.
Okay, so the ratings on IMDb for this movie are 6.7 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes, it's sitting at 81%, and Facebook, it has a 4.7 out of 5, and 90% of Google users liked this film, so it's pretty widespread there. The budget for this movie was 38 mil, and it only made about 42 mil worldwide box office, which I think is why you and me were discussing they probably pulled it out of theaters so quickly. It was like,
yeah, that's weird.
Probably a month or two, and it wasn't performing as well as they thought, and they were like, well, we made our money back, let's just pull it.
It is good, though. It does deserve more than what it got, definitely.
Well, I feel like this movie was one that was definitely overlooked in theaters, because this movie, personally, I gave it a 5, so obviously I'm going to say this, but I feel like this is better than 99% of the shit they're putting in theaters these days.
Stuff they've put out recently, no doubt, yeah.
Like,
I'm sad that I didn't get to see this in theaters.
Like, it's tough to put this movie up against pretty much any movie that's in theaters right now. Like, if you put this up against Detective Pikachu, I probably would still go see this. And, like, I kind of want to see Detective Pikachu.
I'd never even heard of this until you guys talked about it, though.
I know, and that's why I feel like now, with me praising it and stuff to you and everything else, I feel like it kind of built it up for you and whatever. And Patrick said he liked it more his first time. So I feel like down the road, when people are looking for horror movies that they haven't heard of, if they stumble upon this,
this will be a gem.
It's going to be The Descent.
Yeah,
it's going to be something that people will just, they'll be like, how is there this much gore in this movie? How is this movie have this much like crazy special effects? And they'll overlook the flaws, because I think that's the cool thing about horror movies, is if it's not trying to be a flawless movie.
Like, if I show my kids this fucking 30 years down the line, I'll probably be like, yeah, this was fucking sick.
Yeah, man.
But you gotta get real stoned before you watch it.
Yeah. Here, kids, take some of these.
Let's talk about some user reviews here from IMDb's user reviews.
Right.
Patrick's got the 1 out of 10, I believe.
I do indeed, yeah.
So if you want to read that one.
Fucking hell, he's not happy, is he? This is from Braden Hansen from November 2018. He's given it a 1 out of 10. He says, the preview looked promising, but the movie itself felt flat with a huge thud. Okay. The character is dull and doesn't want to hurt a fly, even though it's a war movie. He was easily the worst part of the movie and was hard to engage in the film because of him. His team is hysterically two-dimensional and comedic during intense moments, asking yourself if this is a comedy or a war movie.
Both.
Ooh, all right, sweetheart, hang on. Okay, there were parts that left me squirmish because of intended rape.
Is intended rape funny to you, Patrick?
No, I just... Wait, what?
That's a weird way to say that, though.
When is rape unintended?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
when you slip?
Yeah, just a very, very unfortunate slip.
I just saw you hung up on that, and I had to make a comment about it. Continue.
No, I would have stopped, too. I was very confused when you said that. I was like, is he reading it right?
Is he reading it right?
It's a weird word.
There were parts that left me squirmish because of intended rape, but probably the worst combo came from a dull movie with plenty of jump scares.
3.
No build-up, just jump scares. Jump scares. Of course, the movie often relied on the stupidity of characters to make their plot moving forward. I get that corporations are trying to recruit for their privatized armies and all, but they went a little too hard on you can be the insignificant guy and still be a hero. How cute. Man, that guy had minimal punctuation. That was difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, I could dive into this pretty heavily. But
I think what they meant by the intended rape maybe is that he didn't actually get far enough.
Right. Yeah, because he didn't actually rape her, but
they were like Kenny was saying before, they were kind of suggesting that this has happened in the
Yeah.
past.
So if it was just sexual assault, I suppose. So
Well-
technically, if he goes to Alabama, he'll get off scot-free.
Sure. but
Oh,
but yeah,
Jesus.
I think that's all he was trying to say. He was trying to be
Topical.
smart about it. But yeah.
Thank you.
What's next? Mine?
Yeah, yours.
All right, this is from Kelly with some numbers from November
Good lad.
2018.
Just avoid those numbers if you can't say it.
Because 129 was already taken.
It's a 5 out of 10. Kelly, he or she says, very disappointing. I'm shocked at the current 7.1 rating on IMDb, as it was just disappointment. I had no idea what to expect when I went to see this, but what started as an interesting movie turned into something else. It's like they got halfway through a World War II movie, got bored with it, did some acid, and came up with a whole new second half. Which I agree with that.
Yeah.
See, I completely disagree because I feel like the whole intention of this movie was to have soldiers in a real wartime scenario stumble onto the horrors that the Nazis are perpetrating,
Yeah,
like they
I
did
get
in real
that.
life.
It's a good idea.
It's like when they invaded the camps in real life and they started to find out all the shit that they've been doing to innocent people. It's like,
I would have preferred
Unreal.
something like that. Like
Well, go watch-
an actual...
go watch Boy with the Striped Pajamas and shit then. There's lots of movies like that.
No, but like this one in particular, I feel like there were scarier things to reveal because some of the shit was actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
If they'd have chosen one of those things to go after, like maybe the twins thing, just this
Right.
really fucked up thing to come across. Like everyone's, we've seen zombies.
Right.
Well, this is essentially what these things are as well,
Yeah. Okay, well, yeah, kind of.
on a
'cause-
technical basis.
Yeah. No,
On-
I
on,
got you because
like-
they were testing it on the dead first.
Yeah,
so
right.
it
So
made them
on
undead.
paper, they are currently zombies.
Right.
But it's up for debate.
And the idea is to make them invincible,
Yeah.
living soldiers. Right.
Yeah. So that they can just keep fighting the war, right?
Yeah, like, I mean, if they'd have come across some other crazy shit, it probably would have been...
What do you guys think of the end when he was being questioned by a superior officer if he found anything in the basement? What
I'm
did you
pretty
take
sure
from that?
they probably knew exactly what was down there.
Yeah. And also, I would have just, like, I don't know why they kept it a secret. Like, I get the intent of the movie, why they kept it a secret, but I would have just told them and been like, so they're trying to make...
No.
Nah.
They would have killed him.
Why?
Well, because the whole idea, I believe personally that it was a test to see if he was if he either knew something or if he did know something, if he was gonna start blabbing out to people. So if he keeps his mouth closed, he's
I
fine.
gotcha.
But if he starts talking, it's gonna cause trouble for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's the way I took it.
Okay, so...
And also another one is if he didn't want to tell them because he didn't think anybody should have their hands on that. type
No,
of
I
shit.
agree with that. Like, I agree with all the points of it. The one thing that just ran through my brain about it is if you knew that they were trying to recycle the dead army men of theirs, it would make you think that they're running out of guys and
They are.
trying to fucking...
Well, this is
You know?
this is D-Day. Like this
Yeah.
happened
Yeah.
on D-Day.
Yeah.
So this is the end of the war. This is like where they won. And I think the idea that they were hinting at is this tower is the very reason they won the war. Because they couldn't communicate to figure out where they were all gonna like meet
Yeah.
unless that tower was down. So I think there's like a deeper thing to this where because they took down this tower, like yeah, they took down this fucking crazy scary thing, but they actually took down a tower, which is also like the most important factor in winning this war as well. So it's almost like on two fronts they had a victory, even though they lost a lot of good people. But
Yeah, the war ended a year after that,
yeah.
thereabouts.
This last one is from Joan Rogers from November 2018. It's a 10 out of 10. War and zombies, a good mix. Just been to see this and was blown away. I watch a lot of movies and I take other reviews at base value. Let's face it, we don't all have the same opinions or taste. This has a great story based around the date of D-Day in the Second World War and a motley crew of soldiers that are sent in behind enemy lines to destroy a tower and allow the Allied troops unabated access with little challenges. What they find is a horror beyond all horror when they come across experiments being carried out on the locals. I won't tell you all what happened. It spoils it, but it's a 10 for me. Overall, a great film, good story. Let's face it, it's not so untrue after what we learned at the end of World War II. Great acting, some nice score, and action scenes. And them zombies, they are magic. Yeah, another thing this reminded me of is like the sliminess of the zombies that we saw. Like that, I can kind of give a pass too after seeing like them in like the weird incubators and like the sacks that they were floating in and shit. Like,
yeah, I guess the skin was probably a bit melty.
like there's probably like a slime.
You
that's
don't
built
think
up.
that they would wash them off?
Well, the Nazis did give showers to people, but they were very specific people that they were trying to get rid of.
So do you think they were like the dead women too? Some of them were hanging out with after they brought them back?
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
These guys are fucking sick. Also, was it intended that guy on the bridge was gonna rape her too? Did you guys get that vibe?
He was probably gonna lock her up in the woods and come back every day.
Yeah, he was gonna have a go on it, wasn't he?
All right, you boys
That's
got the
why he
trivia?
didn't just shoot her.
Yeah, I got some triv.
Let's run through this trivia and then we can agree to disagree on this movie. Although, like 3.5 is still a pretty good rating. Like that's a 7 out of 10. That's a pretty high rating still. So I'm not going to give you guys shit, but I'm a little bit disappointed you didn't like it more. I'll leave it at that.
Well, fuck you.
So the way I separated this, we can just read them both in a row. It doesn't really matter who goes
Sick.
in which order. So
Who wants to go first?
we'll let you go first. How about?
All right. Overlord's first sequence, which sees the soldiers jumping from a burning plane, was done by rigging a plane on a gimbal, actually blowing up the front, tilting it as if it were actually falling through the air, and sending stuntmen tumbling through real fire. Fucking hell.
Right?
That's cool.
That's a bit nuts.
So they actually, this is where all their money
Into
went,
water
right?
or
Is
what?
the practical effects
Yeah.
and blowing up a fucking plane, tilting it, and sending people fucking tumbling through fire. Like to me, that's like above and beyond, and that's why that's like so effective when you watch it, right?
So the movie also featured more practical effects rather than the standard CGI effects of most movies. This was done to get a better reaction from the actors involved in the scenes where something gruesome would happen.
They did something similar with like Jurassic Park back in the day, where CGI was first coming around, and they were like, "Fuck it, let's just make real dinosaurs." Because like you're gonna have kids.
Can you
being
imagine
scared
how
to real
garbage that
dinosaurs.
movie would look if it was animated back then?
Yeah, well,
It would be
look
like-
at Jurassic Park 3 or whatever the fuck were they.
So fucking lame.
But yeah, all right, Kyle, it's up to you.
All right. The scene where Chase's neck snaps back so fast, causing bones to stick out of his chest, was done with old school puppetry and animatronics.
Which is pretty cool. Like that's all
Yeah.
practical, where his fucking neck and bones start popping,
Damn.
and it looks cool. Like if you rewatch it ever again, Kyle, just pay closer attention to this stuff and like because I read all this today, so I was paying attention to that shit, and I was like, "Fuck, that looks good." And it reminded me of The Thing. Like, if you guys haven't seen The Thing, if you're listening to this and you haven't seen The Thing, it has some of the best special effects of all times, and it was done like in the early '80s, and it's
Yeah, man, it's fucking gruesome.
It's
You should watch that
unreal.
for sure.
I don't know if Kyle would like it though, because it's a little bit slow.
I don't mind slow
But
movies.
it's
Like
though.
most people I show that movie don't like it because of the pacing, but it's like the special effects and everything of it is just like amazing to me.
When the thing is that's the one like where it's like based up north kind of.
Yeah, so they're in Alaska
Yeah.
at an outpost.
Isn't that? I remember hearing or reading something about it being like very loosely but connected to Alien versus Predator.
What?
Like the one where it's up in I don't know if that one's in Alaska or
No, I know
something,
Alien
but
versus Predator. I don't think it's connected at all.
There's
Because The Thing is from like 1983 or something like that, and Alien versus Predator is like 2009.
yeah. I'll research it, but I
Okay.
remember reading something about it that there was some like it would have been like a Reddit user or something connected a bunch of things together.
Yeah, that movie, like, still to this day, Like the special effects and stuff freak me out in that movie. There's like
Have
one
you
scene with
seen-
dogs in particular that's...
Have you seen Snowpiercer?
No, I haven't seen that one yet.
So
and I
there are
want to.
rumors that that is actually a sequel to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
That's amazing.
Legit.
I'm gonna think about that before I watch
It's-
that movie. Then
I watched
that's
a video.
the Chris Evans one, right?
Yeah, I watched a video comparing like certain aspects of it, and it's really weird. Like people's ages match up to how much time's gone past. It's bizarre, mate. Really weird.
Kyle, you're on the next one here.
All right. It took 5 hours each day to apply the face makeup to, I don't know the
It's
name.
the German guy, the main German bad guy.
Oh, so like the dude with his face blown off.
Yeah.
So it took 5 hours each day to apply the makeup to that guy for his disfigured, mutilated face appearance.
So it must have been some practical effects, which
Yeah.
makes me like intrigued. Maybe that's why it looked too shiny and weird for you, is that it was practical instead of CGI. I don't know, because the
I don't
plane
know.
sequences looked really good. Even the CGI looked really good.
There was just something when I saw that, just the one scene, and it was only for like 3 seconds, and it just looked off, and it just bothered me. But it was really cool, like later on in the movie, where you could see, like before your eyes, his face like healing. That was really fucking cool.
Yeah.
Man.
I watched a YouTube video. There's a channel lately that started doing. They're three VFX artists, and they review like special effects and stuff that people have done for movies. And one of the things the one guy pointed out was in the original Jurassic Park when the T-Rex came out and grabbed the raptor. There's a still frame. If you go ahead frame by frame, there's a frame where the raptors completely disappeared. So when they rendered it, whoever the effects artist did forgot to put that frame of the raptor in it. So in every version of Jurassic Park ever, if you pause it at the right moment, there's like no fucking raptor in the T-Rex's mouth.
Jokes.
So yeah, that's just like an interesting thing. But yeah, so I got two more here, and then we can wrap this up. Confirmed by J.J. Abrams at the Paramount Cinema Con in April 2018 that the film is in fact not an entry in the Cloverfield franchise, despite initial speculation. So the reason this was speculated was because J.J. Abrams has a production company called Bad Robot. One of their first films that they did, I believe, was Cloverfield. I'm not sure if they did that one.
So, yeah.
But they did the second one called 10 Cloverfield Lane. And I don't think people knew that was attached. They just knew it had the name.
Yeah,
And then
it was a very bespoke thing for a film to be called to not be an entry in the series.
Right. And when you watch, have you seen 10 Cloverfield Lane, Kyle?
No.
That's another really good movie you should watch. So that one's like more of like a psychological thriller. It's like
Yeah.
people stuck in a bunker after an
It's-
apocalypse, and they have to figure out if
It
it's
pretty
real or
much
not.
has you questioning yourself the whole time.
It's really good.
as to whether anything has actually happened. Very good.
And then that one ended up being a Cloverfield movie. It like attaches itself at the end, I believe. And then they came out with another one that was supposed to be a space movie. And then there was rumors that this was going to be a Cloverfield movie. Nobody knew about it until like the day it was released on Netflix. It was called The Cloverfield Paradox.
Yeah.
And it was like, shit, they just dropped a fucking Cloverfield movie. Nobody knew about it. It was like under wraps. Not a single person knew about it till the day it dropped. And that's like impossible to do for a movie these
Yeah,
days.
man.
Every movie needs trailers. Every movie needs all this stuff. So people are just like, fuck, let's just watch this. So when this one was announced, it's the same company. It's the fourth movie they've done. And they're like, this has to be tied to Cloverfield. Like, it looks like there's zombies. It looks like there's monsters. This has to be related. But it wasn't. So I thought that was interesting to point out, just in case you were a fan of the Cloverfield movies. Operation Overlord was the code name for Allied operation for the Battle of Normandy, which launched the successful invasion of Nazi-occupied Europe. This, alongside Operation Neptune, would become known as D-Day. So yeah, there's some history for y'all. But yeah, this is our discussion on Overlord. I think that's pretty much all we want to talk about. Are you guys pretty much, you got anything else to say?
It's very much a watch for yourself and see what you reckon kind of gig. I'll probably enjoy it more the next time I watch it, maybe.
I feel like this is a movie I definitely recommend to anybody. That's just because I enjoyed it so much. I don't know how you guys feel. Would you recommend it to people?
I'd probably watch it. It's got a lot of stuff in that's enjoyable for just a movie.
Right.
And you know what? There was only a couple jump scares. Even if you don't like scary movies, you could watch this.
It's very gory, though. Like, there was even parts, Melissa watched with us, there was parts where she looked away. Like, when the dude's head got blown off. I was like, jeez.
Like, yeah, I get that. But for me, the only parts that made me scared were, like, the war stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was the only thing that I actually felt like
I feel like it's
about.
just different types of scares.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, so I definitely recommend go checking it out. And if you want to let us know your thoughts on this movie, you can get in touch with us and follow us on social media, on Twitter at Life with Kenny, Instagram at Life with Kenny Pod, and Facebook at Life with Kenny Podcast. We are also on Podbean, if that's your thing. Patrick's sister recently just started following us on there.
Welcome.
So we finally have one listener on there. So if you're listening from Podbean, thank you for checking that out. We also have, I think the episodes automatically upload on YouTube too. I think I figured out how to do that. So if you're just a YouTuber or whatever, we got that way to listen to it as well. So thanks for listening, and don't forget to rate us and favorite us and subscribe on your podcast app. That helps us get out to new people.
Please do.
Next week is
Dog Soldiers.
Yes, boys.
Yeah, and then we'll be jumping into musical month. So
Nice.
yeah, maybe we'll bring back Lou Pearlman for that one.
All right.
Just kidding. Fuck Lou Pearlman and fuck Judge Reinhold.
Yeah.
Get a life.